Hello, this is Peter Combs from BidAmount.com and P.L. Combs Asian Art, and today is Friday, May 26, 2017. And again, here we are. It's time to take a look back at the auction results from eBay that were in our newsletter catalog last week and talk about a few things that are coming up. We did put in last week a link to the Christie's catalog for their Imperial sale that starts next week on the 31st of May. I believe it's a Tuesday. There's some wonderful things in there. We'll try to get a video out today on that. And we had a lot of good things in the catalog last week. There were some wonderful objects, and everything seemed to do pretty well. There were some terrific bargains, though, that I'm going to go over with everybody and talk about some of those price results. So here we are. Let's get started with the first thing, and it's a big pair of Famille Rose vases. These were these are almost 24 inches tall, 59 centimeters. They're Famille Rose. They are not a mirrored pair. They were not a mirrored pair, which really pushes up the price. They're a matched pair. And what I mean by that is if you take a look right here, you'll notice that the figures, everything is sort of going in the same direction. The man seated, the gentleman seated at the table is facing the same way. These, if they're mirrored, they would look as though they would be in a mirror. Everybody would be facing one another. It makes them a bit more desirable. But nonetheless, this was a nice pair of vases. And they brought $4,000. And they were in excellent condition. So there you are. All right. If they'd been mirrored pair, they probably would have brought over $5,000. So, and then we come to this. This was Joni's up in Canada had a big sale close on Monday and Tuesday. And this was one of the pieces that was in it. It's a very attractive Ming Lunquan celadon incense burner with the wave border and crosshatch decoration. It has sort of a fine crackle to it. There's the bottom of it. That's what they should look like. And it did quite well. It brought $3,000, which is a good price for that. Interestingly, last week, if you saw last week's video, you remember I pointed out an incense burner we had seen that was a buy it now, because we don't often post buy it nows in the newsletter because the prices are so crazy. This was one that was up for $999. It was actually a little bigger than this one. It was a 12-inch one, and I suggested if you like it, it was a good deep green, had flowers. I said, contact the seller, see if he'll make a deal with it and sell it. And somebody did. I got a message from them, and they bought it for 40% under, pretty much 40% under the asking price. So they got a terrific buy. Just never be afraid to contact a seller who has a buy it now and see if they'll have a come to Jesus moment and take a better price for you, not for them necessarily. At any rate, here we have a big Qianlong charger that was up by a seller overseas. Welcome all friends. Nice example, very neatly drawn, very well done for the export market. Has a brown dressed rim. Beautiful landscape scene, classic landscape scene centered by the big pine tree, a water buffalo, and figures working, carrying water and so forth. Here's the back of it, very typical for these export pieces. There's a shot of it up close. And it did quite well. It brought $895, which was a good price. It was found in the Netherlands, okay? A lot of good stuff in the Netherlands. And then there was this. I talked about this last week a bit. I thought this was just a wonderful object. I liked it as a thing. It's a Korean iron chest. It was around 12, 13 inches in each direction, inlaid and covered with gilt and silver. But just a really nice thing. And I think somebody got a really great buy on it. I probably would have bought it for this. $898. A rather nice piece. Good looking. And then there was this, the beautiful Famille Rose plate, very typical Famille Rose, around about 1770, centered with the turquoise floral vase and the peonies on top, and then this sort of rocky thing with another vase on it and whatnot. But a nice looking plate, and as I recall, it was in beautiful condition. And it went for $277. Not an unreasonable price. That's good art for that much money. Nice piece. And then there was this Kangxi plate, very well-known pattern, very typical pattern, with the bird on the branch and the seals over here with the iron red leaf. And interestingly, it had a rather significant and noticeable crack running down from the top. There was also some fritting, and it still did well. It still did pretty well. I'll give you a shot of the back of it. There's the back of it. That's what it should look like. Very, very typical Kangxi back, and this nice sort of yellowing in the foot and the way the double circles is done, not that neat, because these were done for production. They were producing lots of these. And with the crack, it still brought $476, which I think was a very good price for that. Perfect, the same plate brings, 800 or so. The crack didn't have a big impact. And then we had a puzzle jug, or a mystery pot, they call them sometimes. This is a peach form example, many of them are. Celadon with underglazed red up here, and then you'll often see underglazed red highlights with a little bit of cobalt blue under the glaze on the leaves. They usually have bamboo leaves here and over here. This was a nice one, and these have developed a big following over the last 15 years. And this one did very well. It brought right in the range that they typically can. They bring, 1,000 to 1,500 if they're in good condition. This one brought $1,215. Nice piece. Wasn't that long ago those pots you could buy them at auctions around New England for 25, 30 years ago. You could pick them up for 20 or 30 bucks. But suddenly they've developed a following. And then 77 Pud, he's a seller we know of out in Ohio. He gets good things. I don't know where he gets his things. He always finds things. He's a good picker. And is this bronze reticulated top incense, a hand warmer. Rather nice example, very neatly done, good classical form, nice heavy casting, and good color. This has very nice color, which I like. I don't like it when bronzes have been polished up. I like them to sort of reveal their age through their grunge. This was a good one, and I brought $798. It was a nice price for that. And then this seller had one of these. This is a late 19th century cloisonné piece with this rather delicately done sort of lattice pattern here, probably a little bit of gilding on it with butterflies and spring flowers and so forth. Good example. Here's a look at the bottom of it. That's a nice looking bottom. That's what an old one looks like. Often cloisonné is older than it appears. Okay, these can be tricky. This type was made well into the 20th century, but when you flip it over and give it a good look, you realize this happens to be one of the earlier ones. There it is. There's a nice detail of it, nice pink, good shading, good quality work all the way around. It's always in the quality of the work. There it is. Okay, and this did fine. It brought $887. Okay, if it was a 20th century one, it would have brought $250. All right, and there was this box. Now, I'm kind of sad for the seller on this. He didn't do a very good job photographing it, because from this picture it looks like just a lid. Here's the whole thing. It doesn't read well. You always shoot your thing so you can see the whole object in one shot and be clear about how much of it is there. Anyway, this was a nice Famille June box with a big bat handle and a jade inset rouille head thing, and the interior was fully cloisonné as well, which is rather nice. And here's an image of the bottom where they often do these scrolls, very typical of 19th century cloisonné. This is a good example. I think it would have done better had it been more carefully photographed. It brought $1,413, which isn't a bad price for it, but I think it would have done better, and I think the buyer got a particularly good buy. Nice piece. And there's this rather nice Wutsai, probably Kangxi period plate with a very lovely yellow going around it, and this sort of nice, deep, almost egg yolk yellow inner border here. A good example. Here we have some close-up of it. The iron red enamel seems to be in good shape. Often it's worn through. There's a little aubergine washes here and there. There's the foot rim on it, this double-track foot, very typical of the period. Good-looking plate, and it brought $2,000, and I think that's a pretty well-deserved price. It was a nice example. And this is something that was curious to us. These we've noticed in the last 6 months, these fully enameled Yixing teapots are sort of struggling in the market. Now, this wasn't one with script on it, so they don't bring quite as much. But this was not that long ago. This kind of teapot was bringing $2,500, $3,500 from this period. It's a later one, but still they had a good hard following with them. We had a collection of Yixing. This one brought $1,000, which seems to me to be a fairly significant slip in value over the last year from what we'd seen previously. So if you know any Yixing collectors, ask them what's going on. And there was this sort of a very fine Qianlong famille rose plate. These were made in large services with this pattern. Often you see them there's another pattern quite similar to this with kids setting off firecrackers. These often turn up in France for some reason. But it's very lovely looking plate, very elegantly drawn. There's the back of it. Quite fine porcelain, not pure white, but pretty white. And there it is, okay, the kids playing. It's a rather charming scene. And it did well. It brought $415, which I don't think is all unreasonable for that. A nice looking dish. Like I said, we've actually seen some big dinner services of these. And then there's this sort of Quanjianware vase. It's a big vase with a scholar sitting and their children approaching. Here we have it. They're walking along a balustrade. The neck is fully inscribed with a seal, so forth. And here's the foot rim. Here's the bottom of it. Very similar to the famille rose vases we saw at the beginning of the video. Typical late 19th, early 20th century example. And this one did very well. Again, these are one of those things that used to bring, if you got $200 for one, you were doing great not that many years ago. This one brought $2,738. All right? If you live anywhere in the East Coast, you're likely to find these in junk shops. And then you have this very nice screen. I thought this was one of the better buys of the week. This was a good big screen with a very nicely carved frame around it. Heavily orange peeled surface. You know it's a late 19th, early 20th century example with script, which surprised me. These often jump up into the $2,500, $3,500 range. And there's another shot of it. Here it is. Good detail. And this one just brought $1,000, which is rather surprising to me. It may have been the shipping that slowed people down, but when you buy a big screen like this, expect to pay shipping, okay? But this was a good buy. I think if somebody had asked me before what it'll bring, I probably would have said, $2,000 to $2,500 anyway. So I think this was a very good buy for someone. And we had another famille rose vase. I kind of like this one. The figures in the center here are sort of oversized, large scale, and you can really see what they're doing. There's a fellow with a scroll, big table, and I love the chimera scrolling down over the neck. It's rather an unusual feature. Very typical late 19th century vase, but unusual elements to it. And I guess a few people liked it well enough that it went for $1,802. Okay. And then the stacking lunchbox, very popular with Chinese furniture collectors. They like to have them to put on their furniture. This was a nice piece, good quality wood, nice color all the way around. Here's the top of it. The graining for the top was well selected. It's right in the center of the box. Nice looking pleats on the corners. And it did just fine. It brought $2,111. Not bad for a late 19th century box. And this was another great buy of the week. This was a painted soapstone. This wasn't porcelain. It was a painted soapstone screen. And very nicely done. Good detail, good decoration, a nice old one. The back of it is fully inscribed. And here's the back of it with all that script. And it brought $799. So that's a good price for that. Good looking screen, and it brought only $799, which I think was a great buy for that. I think the stand for it was probably worth close to that. So that was a good buy for someone. Okay. Interestingly, Chinese buyers on the mainland don't often buy painted soapstone. I don't know why. They've never caught on to it. Maybe they will, like they have with Blanc de Chine. Anyway, there was this item came up. This I thought was one of my favorite little things on the sale. If you like little objects, this was a really great. It was an elephant head. Look at the elephant heads. Elephant head incense burner. The seller had it up as Ming. I think it's probably older. It could even be Song. But beautiful quality, great color, nice surface. Here's the interior of it. Here's a side shot of it, but very nice detail all through here in that nice chocolate brown surface. God, what a surface. And I think somebody got a very nice buy on this, $682. It's a terrific little object, and I liked it a lot. And then we had, of course, every week we seem to have one of these big Wanli chargers. There's another one. Very, very classic with the lotus rim on it and a kneeling horse in the center on the edge of a pond. Maybe he's getting ready to drink some water or something with a pine tree. As everyone knows, I like horses. And this was a nice plate. Even it had a hairline in it, and it still did pretty well. It brought $945. And then this is something that's closing. This is coming up to close over the weekend. A rather nice large charger. This is a big charger. You can tell by the person holding it. With this deep blue, rather unusual deep blue center decoration of flowers, and then this very lovely sort of these arabesque borders running around the outside. Good looking dish. I think this is rather nice. Has some chips around the edges right there and there, but they're on the back, so who cares? And it's up to $498. It's got 42 bids. I think it'll jump at the end, but we'll see. And just so you know, if you buy Japanese stuff at Satsuma, Joni's, who just finished the sale, has about a dozen or so. I didn't count them. Nice-looking Satsuma lots. This one in particular, it's heavily decorated with gusto blue. There's a side image of it, a rather nice piece, and you might want to check those out. We'll have those on the newsletter when we send it out this weekend. And there's another incense burner, a celadon incense burner, an old one. You can see the surface on it, nice old one, coming up that closes on Sunday. And this same seller, you might want to check it out if you like early celadons, has a bunch of them. Several big chargers and plates and so forth, another incense burner, a bowl, a nice little Jingbai box, and so forth. So you might want to check him out. His things close over the weekend. All right. And then there's the sales at Christie's, and we'll get into those and try to get a video done on those today. Highlight a few of the things. It's a nice looking bunch of sales. Really is. All right. Thanks a lot for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend. The sun here is finally coming out after a week of cold rain, and have a great time. All right. Good luck out there. Bye bye.